It's time to get out of pocket. I'm your host, Michael Davis, on Boom Broadcasting. And yes, it's Friday. I just want to go ahead before we get into all of the talk we have for today. We got college football picks. Aaron Schneider is going to be joining me from the Gridiron Address. In addition, Aaron and myself are going to be joined by Rick 8-Bit and the defending prediction champion, Jason from Sideline Savants. We're all going to be predicting some NFL games for the weekend. And I'm going to talk a little bit in this first segment, some sports. But I want to say thank you guys so much for working with us, for being patient, because this has been a week I never expected. And I don't think a lot of people did either. Some of our content creators are in the Western North Carolina region and have been impacted by what happened last week with the hurricane. And so that's why there's been some content that's been missing this week. And I tried to make that clear as the week began. But in addition, a lot of our audience as well is in the Western North Carolina region and isn't able to watch this because of no Wi-Fi or no power or their situation right now. But I want to give you guys the best entertainment, the best escape from reality as possible, while educating and being helpful when it comes to what's happening right now in Western North Carolina. So if you guys are feeling led, help any way you can. I know Samaritan's Purse is doing a lot. If you're in the local Wilkes area, Wilkes Youth Life Development's doing a lot. Thomas Sally from the Wilkes Tourism. Like there's a lot of ways to get involved and to help recover a place that is near and dear to my heart. That's why I'm wearing an App State shirt as well. I went to school there. So I want to start out the episode with that little tidbit of information. Super excited to get to invite Jason in, getting to invite Rick 8-Bit, and Aaron will be joining us here in a few minutes to talk college football. But guys, let's get into some sports. Let's get into some sports, and I will also be sharing, while we have been missing out on some content this past week, we do debut a new show tomorrow in partnership with Fans First Sports Network. You want to stay tuned if you guys don't know what show that is. So I had to leave the first few minutes of this episode open because, there were some cryptic tweets when it came to Devontae Adams, posting the picture of Edgar Allan Poe. Of course, yesterday I had Wayne from Sideline Savants here to talk about potentially where Devontae Adams could end up. I even brought up his Baltimore Ravens, and he's like, yeah, I just don't see it happening. And then, of course, Devontae makes that tweet today. There's still no official word on Devontae Adams and where he's at. If that news breaks while we are on air and we catch it, we would love to talk about it here on Out of Pocket. And that's why we do these live streams. The card always subject to change. Now, you can also be a part of the show as well. We'll open our YouTube comments. So please feel free to engage, help steer the conversation wherever you'd like to go. But I notice because of all the, moving around parts with this week and everything that happened, I haven't touched on some really big NBA news yet. And that is Karl Anthony Towns has, yes, switched towns. He was traded to the New York Knicks this week. Julius Randle was sent to Minnesota, along with Dante DiVincenzo, a first-round pick, and Bates Diop. This caught me by surprise. I will say this caught me by surprise. Now, people need to remember and need to realize, also, we are getting the we are getting some comments right now. Ryan saying it's garbage that WCU is hosting a football game this weekend. I have my own thoughts about, Western Carolina, not Western North Carolina, but I've always said that ECU and WCU are the left and right armpits of North Carolina. That's a personal beef I have with WCU, ECU. I actually hadn't heard that Western was actually still having their game, obviously slated to host Wofford in Cullowhee That's absolutely wild. And it's pretty much bad, but um, they can make their own decision. And just know they didn't go to a good school like App State. Chris saying a very Wolves move. Oh, Chris saying WVU is a better party school than ECU. They're hosting without spectators. That's even tougher for me. That's tougher for me actually, because I mean, if you were going to have a football game, you'd want to at least have like an escape for people. That's why Boom is still doing some content. We obviously haven't been able to do most of our content this week, but I still wanted to provide that escape. But if you're doing it without spectators, I would honestly, if you wanted to make this better, you open that up to the public and say, hey, tickets are free. If you want to donate, if you can, but the game's free, no strings attached. You come, you watch football for a couple hours. That would be the only way. That would be the only way I'd be okay with this, is if they actually were doing it for the community. App probably won't be having a home game anytime soon, because it would actually it would actually be considered for Wake Forest. Is the place I'm hearing that App could potentially host their home games. They are having an away game. They are at Marshall this weekend. App's still playing that. I'll have Aaron on here in a few minutes to talk about that. Ryan also saying, good to see you're doing well. Don't ever forget when I said halfway through 2023 that Andy needed to take over in Charlotte. I've been vindicated this season. Hey, it's worked out. Andy Dalton was the first passer in the NFL this year to throw for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns in a game. But in addition, Kirk Cousins superseded that last night in a really great Thursday night showdown. Probably the best Thursday night football game I've seen in a while. That was actually a good game. So kudos to Thursday night football, because you looked at that game probably when you saw the schedule back in the spring. You're like, looks pretty bad. Probably want to do something else, whatever. But yeah, Andy Dalton did really well for Ryan, my former co-host for the Cat Cave. He still does that podcast with Shannon Smith. Max saying sorry, refs. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I hate when officiating changes the outcome of a game 100%. Chris saying very Wolves move for them to trade Karl-Anthony Towns, and I was really confused by this. I'm about to have a welcome in Aaron to talk some college football. Minnesota had a really good season last year. They were in the Western Conference Finals. And if I'm not mistaken, the Knicks were in the Eastern Conference Finals. So the fact that we saw 2 contenders swap power forwards, swap starting fours, by Randall going to Minnesota, the Knicks acquiring Karl-Anthony Towns, that's what shocked me about this move. Jason saying go Knicks. He might like this. But this is weird to me. I still haven't wrapped my head around this, because Karl-Anthony Towns has been Minnesota. Like, he spent 9 years there since he was the number 1 overall pick. And when they got Rudy Gobert, I was like, how does this work? How are we going to have Karl-Anthony Towns moving to the 4, Gobert playing at the 5? Is it going to get too crowded down there? But you're like, okay, Cat can kind of space the floor a little bit. But I didn't know Minnesota would choose and elect to keep Karl-Anthony Towns, who's been there for 9 years, rather than Rudy Gobert. That's what shocked me. And the fact that Minnesota looked like it was actually trajectorying all the way up. It was like, wow, why do you mess up with the rhythm? Why do you mess up with the mojo? Jason saying Cat will blossom in New York. In addition, he's available. Randall's never available. Randall has been hurt a lot. So I really do like this move for the New York Knicks. I feel like the Knicks are really improved. Not only do they get Karl-Anthony Towns in exchange for Julius Randle, but they also, people are forgetting, they also acquired Mikal Bridges, who honestly, he proved in Phoenix that, hey, I can lead a team. I should be able to lead a team. And then he goes to the Brooklyn Nets in a trade when Kevin Durant went to Phoenix, and Mikal Bridges shined in Brooklyn, but he had no help. And now he's back in New York. And when I say back in New York, I'm saying he's back with his former college teammates, his running buddies, Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart. Obviously, Dante DiVincenzo just got sent over in that trade. So it'll be very interesting to see what the Knicks do, especially when it comes to playing Karl-Anthony Towns. Do they move Cat back to the 5 and have like a Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Jalen Brunson starting lineup? Or do you have Mitchell Robinson start at the 5 and then have Cat at the 4 whenever Mitchell Robinson is back from his injury? He won't be ready for the beginning of the NBA season due to an ankle injury, but you'll always have to look out for that. But that's my NBA take. This is just a super weird trade by 2 contenders. But now we get to bring in my good friend Aaron Schneider to talk about college football. And you do see on the screen, App has its first game since the hurricane came through with its impact on Boone. So, Aaron, you and I both went to App State, both graduated from there, rolled nears. What do you think about, hey, we're repping today. We're repping. I love it. What do you think about the Mountaineers going through and playing a road game this weekend?
I mean, it makes sense. I feel like if they were hosting again, they should cancel. I'm of the opinion that I don't think App should play a single game in Boone the rest of the season because that town is not going to be ready for that kind of influx of people for a long time. But that's a whole nother conversation. I totally get them playing an away game. I'm looking forward to it. Honestly, I'd love to see him come out and play hard against Marshall.
Dude, I'm looking forward to it. We got a few games to talk about and a few games to predict. I did want to touch more on App State a little bit with us both being students from there. I've been very outspoken on this right now. That Sean Clark has not done his very best with this program, especially this year. They got trounced a couple weeks ago in their Sun Belt opener against South Alabama. It's honestly been about 2.5 weeks since we saw that game because it was a Thursday night game that App played. It was on ESPN. Now they played their second game against Marshall. Obviously, the town and the entire school is hurting right now because of everything. How important do you think it is that App delivers and shows up on the football field?
I think it would be huge just as like a kind of morale boost for the student body to an extent. Obviously, it can only winning a football game will only do so much, but just to bring some type of energy to the town, I think would most definitely be beneficial. And to your point about Sean Clark, he has, to me, he's failed the program. I feel like any semblance of culture that this team used to have is gone. It defense has struggled. I feel like I've seen a lot of former App State football players saying that there's not enough dogs on the team and that you got to recruit dogs and not stars. And I'm inclined to agree with that, honestly.
I'm inclined to agree with that. If you second that, I'm third in it. I'm going third it because you gotta just see like, yeah, there's talent, but it's like, I mean, we need that guy who sets the tone, who sets the pace. Especially when we were in school. Like I remember Zach Thomas, Tom Hennigan. These guys were like, hey, as the game starts to look like it's getting out of hand, we're going to take the field. We're going to put the team on our back. And we're just missing those guys right now. But Aaron, it's Marshall favored by 3 at Joan Edwards Stadium in West Virginia. Both of these teams are 2-2. Marshall, this is their first Sun Belt game. App State is their second, but they're looking for their first win. How do you see this one going?
Man, I'm a little concerned. I'm not shocked that Marshall's favored their running back AJ Turner. He's averaging over 12 yards a carry. App State does not do well against the run at all. So I'm extremely concerned. And offensively, I feel like they haven't been able to get anything going. Feels like Joey Aguilar has been making uncharacteristic bad decisions. The running game, they're insistent on feeding Anderson Castle the ball. And I love Anderson Castle. He's a great player. You got to get Kanye Roberts and Mikael Haywood more involved, without a doubt. Castle's going to run hard, but Roberts and Haywood, they have speed. They can move the ball more effectively, in my opinion. So to me, it really comes down to Aguilar needs to stop making poor decisions, and they need to get the running game going. I think Castle only has 150 yards on the year, and he's the team leader in rushing yards, and that is just not good enough. When App State's been great, they've had at least one great running back. Like we had Nate Noel, Cam Peoples not that long ago, Darrington Evans before that. It seems like every successful App team not that long ago has had a good running back, and we need to get that back. And I think Kanye Roberts could be that guy.
I hope they utilize Kanye more in this game because he can be explosive. Or at the very least, he has been when I've been playing college football. So at the very least, do you have a winner prediction for this game?
I can't pick against App, in all honesty. I think they'll get it together. I feel like Sean Clark has to feel some amount of pressure, and hopefully he realizes that to an extent he is coaching for his job at this point. He simply needs to be better. And for now, I'm going to hold on to the faith that App State's going to right the ship, and they'll pick up a win against Marshall, probably a close one, like 3-6 point victory.
Dude, I'm what if it wasn't for everything that has happened over the last week, I'd probably go the opposite route because I've pretty much lost faith in this football team. But you just have to rally. You guys have to carry that emotion into this game because this isn't going to fix everything that's happening right now in the real world, but it would be, like you said, a morale boost if App wins. So I'm going to take App by 9 points, and I'm really 9 seems a lot to me. They're going to have to stop the run, but they're going to have to run the ball.
Pushing it.
It's really
it's a
pushing
stretch.
it.
But yeah, I think they're going to be energized by just everything that's happened, and they're going to bring it and pick up a W.
Pick up a dub. Another thing, I was happy to see that Duke picked up a dub last week against North Carolina. But I want to touch more on Pittsburgh, an undefeated ACC team going to North Carolina. North Carolina, they're dropping like flies when it comes to quarterback. Amari and Hampton's really tough to stop, but for some reason they stopped handing him the ball much in the second half last week. But UNC really can't afford to go down. 0-2 in the conference, 3-3 overall. But they're hosting Pittsburgh. How do you see this one going?
This is a surprisingly good Pitt team. I wasn't expecting this out of them, but I'm going to back the Tar Heels. I think they just feed Amarion Hampton the ball. I think he's going to have a great game, and UNC is going to be 1-1 in conference play, and Pittsburgh's not going to be undefeated anymore.
You think UNC pulls off the upset?
Yeah, I'm taking Tar Heels in this one.
Oh, I'm not taking the Tar Heels. After losing JMU, after giving up a 20-0 lead at Duke, dude, I
think JMU deserves respect as a football team, and we need to treat them as one of the more dangerous group of 5 teams. I hate saying it as an App State graduate, but JMU is dangerous. They are a good team, and UNC still put up 50 points, so their defense needs to get it together, but I mean, the offense can move the ball, I feel like.
Now, interesting, Mac Brian saying, go UNC, help Duke. A UNC win would help Duke knock out a undefeated team in the ACC, but in addition, could help that UNC win look a little bit stronger than it was. But, dude, I don't see it in UNC right now. And kid you not, my dad can be a testament to this. I called that comeback down 20-0. And I was like, don't call it a comeback. Don't call it a comeback. And sure enough, it was a comeback in dramatic fashion. So I just don't think they're dogs, man. But we'll agree to disagree. Pitt and UNC are unranked, but Missouri is ranked 9th in the nation at Texas A&M College Station, number 25 in the country. Dude, this is literally like you can't think of a harder place to play than College Station. If you're Missouri, it's going to be tough. I don't know if Cook can go in. I don't know if Bray Cook can go into College Station and just show up and dominate. A&M has a good run game with Le'Veon Moss. Dude, I'm taking Texas A&M. I don't know how you're feeling about this one.
It's going to be a good game. I mean, I really like this Missouri team, and whether or not Brady Cook just has to be smart with the ball. I think Missouri is going to lean on their running game. Nate Noel, former App State player, he's going to be great. I feel like he's starting to establish himself as the clear running back one at Missouri over Marcus Harrell in the last couple weeks. And I think Nate Noel, big game from a running back. We've talked about running game a lot in the last few minutes, but I think it's going to come down to that. If Brady Cook can just be smart with the ball and Nate Noel can get going, I think Missouri takes it in a super good game.
Wow. So you got Missouri in that one. That's an interesting take right there. But you know what? It's okay. We'll let you have that take. Maybe
I'm
it's
also not crazy on A&M only beating Bowling Green by 6. That just feels like a weird game. I don't know if that was just off from them or Bowling Green's solid, but that feels like a super ugly game.
Yeah. And maybe this is a little bit of my bias because Nate Noel did leave and App's suffering for it right now. And he's over in Missouri, but it's like, dude, really? You had to go to Missouri? Of all places, you had to go to Missouri and play with Drinkwitz. Nah, bro. Thanks a lot. But yeah, give me A&M. Why not? Why not? Give me A&M. Ole Miss, 12th in the nation, travels to South Carolina. I saw Ryan in the comments earlier. He's a big South Carolina Gamecock fan. If you know anything about Ryan, he can never have a conversation without bringing up his Gamecocks. But South Carolina is 9.5-point underdogs to Ole Miss, even at home. Do you see this being close, Aaron? Who you got in this one?
I'm gonna take Ole Miss, but 9.5 feels a little steep. I feel like we need to respect South Carolina a little more. I'll go Ole Miss by 7. I think Ole Miss is a super talented team, despite that loss to Kentucky, a team that South Carolina actually beat earlier in the season. But regardless, it's going to be competitive. It's SEC football. We need to respect South Carolina more. I'm still going Ole Miss by 7.
I think we should. And Mac also brought up, sorry refs earlier, and that's also like a part of the South Carolina game. Like they got robbed. They got robbed in that LSU game. Like that referee, the officiating was pretty bad. Chris is going Ole Miss by 10, so he likes that 9.5-point line that sits at right now for Ole Miss. But I don't know. You got to bounce back. You have to bounce back after the way that LSU game ended. I really think that Ole Miss could lose this game, especially it being on the road at South Carolina. So I'm going to go ahead and give it. I'm going to give South Carolina an upset. And I can't believe I actually said that, and Ryan's listening right now. So Ryan, enjoy that. You're welcome. As somebody would say, you're welcome. Damian Sandow / Moana. Another game that is actually surprising to me. Like we saw Ole Miss is favored on the road at South Carolina, but number 10 Michigan is on the road at 3-2 Washington. But would you believe me if I told you the Washington Huskies are actually favored in this game by 1.5 points? It honestly doesn't look like that on paper, Aaron, but that's the situation we have right now is they believe in Will Rodgers. Do you believe in Will Rodgers, and do you believe in this Washington team?
We lost connection there a little bit, but yeah, Washington's coming in as the favorite, and man, Michigan is playing effective but ugly football. I mean, they ran the ball over 40 times the last game. I feel like they always start the game super strong, and then the opposing team realizes, oh, hey, they're literally just running the ball, and their quarterback can't pass to save his life, and so they make a comeback in the second half. But to be look, I mean, it's understandable to sleep on them. They're a one-dimensional offense, and their defense is solid, but that it's not going to be good enough when you get to the elite competition like Ohio State, I think. But that's the conversation for November. I'm still taking Michigan in this. I don't think Washington is good enough to stop the one-dimensional Michigan offense because for as one-dimensional as it is, they run the ball incredibly effectively.
Yeah, and sometimes the game's won and lost in the trenches. Can that offensive line dominate that game, dominate the time of possession if the running game's operating well? That's why I'm a little worried about App against Marshall. If it wasn't for the emotional game that the Mountaineers are about to have, maybe I would pick Marshall. But yeah, I'm going with you. I'm going with Michigan. Yeah, Washington being favored here, even at home, just
It's
feels a
weird.
little
It's
weird.
not right.
It's really not right. We have the Hurricanes, ranked 8th in the nation, Miami, at California, across the country. Do you think Cam Ward and company can get this done?
I absolutely think they can get it done despite the absurd travel. I mean, real quick, no team on the Pacific Coast should be in the ACC. This kind of conference realignment is absolutely ridiculous. But I think Miami's going to go into California and take care of business pretty easily.
Okay. I agree. Like Cam Ward is super electric. He's super fun to watch. I wonder how he's going to do when it comes to actually getting into the NFL, like how high he's drafted. And
I've
I'm
seen
on
some mock drafts have him in the top 10. I think it was a CBS mock had him pretty high up there, and he's a legit Heisman candidate. I don't think he's the favorite, but he's top 5 for sure. The guy's been phenomenal all year, and I'm excited to see what he can do the rest of the
yeah,
season.
yeah, and Chris loving your point, Aaron. That's pretty awesome. Um, that's rare. You guys can agree. Chris also saying it's ridiculous. It's become so openly about the money and not academics. And yes, I agree. But thankfully, we have college football, the video game now. So it's a yin yang. It's a catch-22 right there. But yeah, dude, college football is super different now based on NIL, transfer portal, like I mean, dude, we haven't seen it at this level before.
It's going to be super interesting to see how if there's any like restrictions put in place. And I mean, do players have like a collective bargaining agreement to some extent, with the Matthew Sluka's situation at UNLV, supposedly lied to about how much he was going to get paid, and then he leaves the team and enters the portal. So, will something be put in place to prevent this from happening? It's going to be fun to watch unfold.
Oh, 100%. I'm super excited for it. Now, what I'm also excited for is we have concluded our last college football prediction. And of course, you've been seeing it on the social media pages. We have 4 panelists who predict NFL games for the weekend. Unfortunately, Uh, we've had a guy win back to back to back weeks. And it's funny because we just needed a fourth guy. We ended up looking at our comments. We're like, hey, Jason predicted every game in the comments. Let's show appreciation and support for him for this work he's doing with Sideline Savants. And he actually won, and now he just keeps on having the throne. So I know he's going to be like a little obnoxious right now, but I just want to remind him that the Dallas Cowboys did beat the New York Giants 10 days ago. So we'll just go with that. We're welcoming in from Sideline Savants, a co-host of them, Jason. Jason, how's it going, my friend?
Fantastic, Michael. It's great to see you. How we doing, Aaron? Let's
Doing
go.
good.
How we
Dude, and it's awesome to have you.
appreciate it.
The comment, look at UNLV quarterbacks. I agree with him leaving because of the broken promise, but they need regulations. That's totally true. I'm just saying, and this is me. If you tell me I'm getting paid an amount, you know what I'm expecting? I'm expecting that amount. Just FYI. Just stick to your word. In addition, he's always in the comments as well. He's been a supporter of Boom Broadcasting since day one. I really appreciate him. We'll call him. If we're calling Jason NY, we're going to call this guy Rick 8-Bit. Eric, it's awesome to have you in. And you're wearing a Mets hat. It didn't necessarily look as good for the Mets until it actually turned in y'all's favor.
The ninth inning, it all changed.
Dude, I was like,
Yep.
what is going
They had me
on?
sweating, but hey, I got yelled at last time for wearing a Ravens stuff, so I had to make sure I wore Mets this time instead.
Hey, that's totally fair. Maybe your team actually goes and gets Devontae Adams. And we're keeping a close eye on socials, on ESPN.com. We're keeping a close eye and make sure nothing breaks while we're live on air. We'll want to get in these NFL games. We got several to predict before we get out of here for the day. The Jets and the Vikings actually kick off Sunday in London. People saw this on the schedule and they're like, this probably won't be good. Well, the Jets are 2-2. The Vikings are surprisingly at 4-0 entering this game. Jason?
3-1. Oh no, I'm sorry. Yeah, it is. I'm sorry, my bad. Yep, 4-0. Yeah, Vikings are on a tear right now.
Yeah, Vikings are 4-0. Jason, just so you tried you tried correcting me right there.
Yeah, my bad. It's my bad.
You're good. You're good. I'm gonna make you go first on this one.
Okay. Look it. That's a long trip to take. Aaron Rodgers and them old bones of his, I don't think they're going to translate very well. I think he's going to get a little jet lag. I definitely got the Vikings. London is calling. Right now, the Vikings pass offense is a heck of a lot better than the Jets pass offense. JJ, Addison, Naylor, they're just on point. Garrett Wilson's not doing much. Lazar, you saw what the Jets looked like over this past weekend. They're going to run into that buzzsaw. Minnesota's defense is no joke. I know the Jets defense is ranked up pretty high. I think they're third in the NFL, but they're not going to be able to compete that high-powered Minnesota offense. Sam Darnold, I mean, MVP right now. He's having an amazing season.
He's having an amazing season.
Give me the Vikings.
Jason's got the Vikings. 8-Bit, what you got for this one?
I gotta go Vikings too to piggyback on what Jason said. I've looked in some of the stats. The Vikings lead the league in sacks, and they're the second in blitz rate behind the Denver Broncos, who absolutely gave the Jets fits last week. Fun fact: the Vikings have trailed a total of 3 minutes and 26 seconds this whole season. That's it. So I'll take the Vikings in London.
He's got the Vikings as well. Aaron, is this a sweep for you guys?
It's 100% a sweep. I mean, the Jets are just not a good football team. And Sam Darnold, like Jason said, to me, he's the MVP favorite right now. He's playing some phenomenal football. And I was crapping on him to start the year, saying that he wasn't very good. And I'm eating my words. And Brian Flores has this defense playing at an absurdly high level. And I think that is what is really making Minnesota dangerous at this point. You know, to piggyback off of Jason, Aaron Rodgers is going to run into that buzzsaw of a defense, and it's going to be ugly. Minnesota wins by 10.
Wow, Minnesota wins by 10. Now, you guys are all picking Minnesota. Minnesota, obviously, in my top quarter rankings, were number 2. But Max saying Vikings always fall apart at some point in the season. And you know what? I'm not saying they're falling apart, but I'm saying they lose this weekend. Now, there are 2 reasons why I'm saying this. One, you guys are talking about the Minnesota defense. The Jets are actually 3rd when it comes to yards allowed for defense, which is obviously like Sam Darnold playing against his former team. He didn't have this type of defense when he was there. In addition, Aaron Rodgers just seems to show up. Like Aaron Rodgers, like if there is lights on him, whether it's prime time or whether it's one of these international games, Aaron Rodgers understands the pressure on that. That's why he's always performed well on Thanksgiving. When all the eyes are on him, Rodgers shows up. I think that's the difference maker. I think Allen Lazard and that comfortability helps. In addition, I think we start seeing Garrett Wilson a lot in this game. It's going to be a very low-scoring game, but that even helps Aaron Rodgers when it comes to the clutch. So I'm going to be the outlier here, and that's going to give me the predictions right here. We also have the Ravens at the Bengals. As of now, Devontae Adams will not be playing for Baltimore, but Rick 8-Bit will be pulling for the Ravens. How do you see this one going, my friend?
Well, I'm not going to lie. I'm a Ravens fan, so I got to take the Ravens. Fun fact, Lamar Jackson as a starter is 8-1 against Cincinnati. And Baltimore is averaging 145.5 yards a game. Handle that rushing D. So you're going to have to go with Baltimore on the road in this one.
He's going Baltimore on the road. Aaron, how do you feel about this one?
I got to agree with them. I think Baltimore is going to take care of business. I mean, Chuba Hubbard ran all over the Bengals. It seemed like he averaged almost 6 yards a carry, and Derrick Henry is a significantly better running back than Chuba Hubbard. I think this Baltimore run game is going to tear Cincinnati apart, and Baltimore is going to pick up the win.
Jason, is that a clean sweep for you guys?
There's nothing more dangerous than a cornered tiger. I see the Bengals at home. They are 1-3 right now. This is a divisional game. This is their mid-season Super Bowl. They're going to play the Ravens so much different than any other game that they've played yet this year. They have to win this game. This is desperation for Burrow. Yes, the Ravens are first in rushing in the league. They're second in offense in the league. They are a juggernaut. But every once in a while, they lay an egg. And it's going to be tough playing in Cincinnati. That stadium's going to be hype. And again, the Bengals' backs are against the wall. They need to win this game desperately. So a desperate Tiger takes down the Ravens. I've been praising the Ravens all year. I think they got a fantastic. I love me some Derrick Henry. I think he's probably one of the greatest running backs in the last 10 years to hit this league. He is phenomenal. His stiff arm is going to go down legendary. When they make his bust and put it in Canton, they need to put it with a stiff arm too. But I got the Bengals.
Jason's going with the desperate Bengals. I am not. I am going to let Jason be on his island. I'm also I've picked against Jason both times this past time. So hopefully he goes 0-2 in these opening picks. Dude, I think Dallas has a really bad run defense, has given up 145.8 yards a game on the ground. Cincinnati Bengals given up 145 as well. And you're playing against Derrick Henry. You're playing against Lamar Jackson. Yes, division games, those are a toss-up. But I will take a running attack by Baltimore to give them this win. Next up, we got the Buffalo Bills at the Houston Texans. Currently, for this game, Houston's favored by 1. And Aaron, you've always had a bias towards CJ Stroud. You're a big fan of his. You Wish Carolina had drafted him over Bryce Young. Do you think CJ Stroud gets it done against Josh Allen and the Bills?
Oh, this is a tricky game. I find myself going back and forth on this in all honesty because I am super high on the Texans, but that game against the Jags was rough. I mean, Jacksonville's not a good football team, and to barely beat them does not instill confidence. And then Buffalo got absolutely whooped by Baltimore. So this is super tricky, but I'm leaning Buffalo right now, even with Khalil Shakir out, down their wide receiver one. I think Josh Allen is going to be playing angry. I think he's going to come out swinging, and Buffalo's going to pick up the win.
He's got Buffalo. Jason, do you agree?
Look, Josh Allen is an amazing talent, but with your number one wide receiver down, you're going into the Texans stadium. Diggs is going against his former team, so you know he's going to have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. I think the Texans bounce back. CJ Stroud, I mean, they literally, all they got to do is cut the head off the snake. If they can spy Josh Allen, keep him in the pocket, rough him up a little bit, Buffalo really doesn't have. I mean, Cook is a good runner, but I think they can stop him too. I'm going Texans with this one. I think the Bills are going to struggle this weekend. Josh Allen can't do it all by himself for the whole year. So he's going to need some help, and we'll see if somebody steps up. But give me the Texans.
And Matt brought up the revenge game for Stephon Diggs playing against his former team, Buffalo Bills. You know he'll be wanting to show up for that one. Rick, 8-Bit, what we got for this one, Texans or Bills?
Going with Buffalo here. Buffalo has 86 receiving yards a game, fewest in the NFL. Throwing, like Chris DeLuca said about Nixon, with Nixon in the offense, the Texans are averaging 144 rushing yards a game. Without Nixon, it's 69.5 yards. So looking at the stats, I say Buffalo. I know Diggs wants revenge, but he's not going to get it this time.
Well, I do want to go back to that revenge comment. I was too young, so I've obviously just heard of the story, so on and so forth, of Randy Moss after he thought he was being drafted by the Cowboys and was snubbed, went to the Vikings, and then he just put up one of the best receiving games of all time against Dallas. Receivers, you can say this. They are A, divas. Okay, a lot of them are divas. But B, they're petty. And sometimes that pettiness helps. I'm actually taking Houston to win this game. So it's very weird. Aaron and I a little bit different in that regard. He usually takes Houston. I usually pick against them, but we'll see how this dynamic works for this one. Jason, our next game is actually another division game. The Miami Dolphins at the New England Patriots. You guys are like, why are we picking this one, right? Tua's out. So that's going to be really tough. But both of these teams are 1-3. Both of these teams are 1-3. And with Miami having high aspirations coming into this year, if they go fourth place in this division early, it looks really bad. Jason, how do you feel this one goes?
This is going to be an abysmal game. The Patriots are last in offense, last in rushing. They are a rough team to watch. The Dolphins are even rougher right now. To just not have a quarterback, their team looks lost. They got A-Chain in the backfield, but they just don't have any oomph in that team right now. No spark. I mean, I am going with the Patriots. They're playing at home, and that's really the only reason kind of why I'm giving the Patriots a little bit of the edge, because I think they can maybe kick a field goal or something and beat the Dolphins. But this is the toilet bowl. This is two abysmal teams heading down the drain to see who's going to get that first pick in the draft next year. So it's going to be a tough game to watch. The only reason you would watch is if you're a fan of one of the other teams. But I got the Patriots eking this one out in a rough game.
Well, Rick, Jason just crapped on both of these teams, but who do you have in this one, my friend? The Dolphins or the Patriots?
Well, first, I will tell Jason this. With it, I'm New York region. With it being the Jets on at 9 o'clock, unfortunately, everyone in the Northeast is going to have to see this game. Unfortunately, so my apologies because of the NFL on this. Miami has put up 15 points in the last 2 games. At 184 yards on Monday Night Football. It's a short week. They have to go up to New England. I hate to say this, you gotta go New England just because they're home, but this is going to be bad. Take the under. Whatever you do, take the under. That's a definite.
Way under.
Wow, the disrespect. Mag saying Dolphins trying to get Shadur Sanders from Colorado. Aaron, who you got in the apparent toilet bowl now between Miami and New England?
I mean, I'm picking the Patriots. I mean, Miami barely looks like a football team right now. I mean, the offense it's night and day without Tua at quarterback. They're fully dysfunctional. Achan can't get going, and New England is equally bad. They're not a very good football team, but they're playing at home, and they're going to have that little bit of an advantage. So I'm picking the Patriots at home.
So he's got the Patriots. Everybody on this panel has the Patriots, except myself. I look and everybody
like being different and special.
I mean, I am special. That at least that's
the glutton for punishment, I think, is what it is.
At least that's what my parents told me when I was growing up, that I was special. And I believe it, guys. And I think the Miami Dolphins aren't special, but they're going to be especially better than the Patriots. Now, something I was really shocked about when I looked into this game, the Miami Dolphins actually have a better defense than the Patriots. Historically, that hasn't been the case. And so, yes, this is a different team without Tua, which, Carson, by the way, if you're listening to us, I hope you are doing well because you are in that Boone region right now, thinking about you the entire week. He's crapped on Tua. I think this proves that, hey, Tua was actually a good quarterback. But I feel like backs against the wall, 1-3, you have a rival in New England that you can actually beat. Wow. Thanks. Appreciate that. Cowboys fan picking the wrong team. Shocker. All right. That's enough. That's enough.
Don't be surprised to see Hill traded after this game. That's
really?
How bad it's going to be. That's how bad this is going to be. Again, they're lost in Miami right now, and you can see it on the sideline. They're not rallying around each other at all.
I feel like Tyreek Hill has to regret leaving Kansas City now. I thought it was a bad move for his career the entire time, and it's just continuing to look.
Hey, who knows? Maybe he goes back to Kansas City.
I mean, they need a receiver. Rashee Rice might be done for the year.
Yeah, we have to keep a note on how the Miami Dolphins do, and especially if the Chiefs make any moves for a receiver, maybe Devontae Adams. Now, there was a team who did trade for a receiver a couple years ago, in addition to giving up their first overall pick. And lo and behold, the Panthers actually traded with the Bears, got up, trade for Bryce Young, and then a year later, the Panthers gave up that first overall pick again to the Bears so they could take Caleb Williams. So everybody's going to be watching this game and seeing what's going to be happening between the Panthers and the Bears. See who actually won these draft sweepstakes. Rick 8-Bit, how do you see this one playing out between the Panthers and the Bears?
Well, if you look at the history of the Bears and the Panthers, I hate to say this, but the Bears own the Panthers. The Bears have won 6 out of the last 7 versus Carolina. The only time the Panthers have won is 2014. All time in Chicago, regular season, Bears are 6-0 at Soldier Field. And the only time the Panthers have won in Chicago is the 2005 divisional playoffs. You got to keep it going. I think the Bears win this.
He's got the Bears now. Usually I've been going in order, but I'm going to purposefully skip Aaron because he's the Panthers fan. I need one more unbiased opinion from our guy Jason right here.
Listen, Andy Dalton, great story coming in here. And again, you talk about teams rallying around somebody. I think they did great. But that Bears defense at home is going to eat the Panthers alive. Andy Dalton, again, is not a full season quarterback. He may get you a game or two, but I don't see him being able to withstand the Bears. I see the baby bear showing up a little bit. I think Caleb Williams comes out and has a good game. I think you're going to see him really thrive. That Panthers defense is not very good. So I got the Bears.
He's got the
The
Bears.
Bears. The
The
Bears.
Bears. The
The
Bears.
Bears.
Aaron, it's your favorite team, but you follow this team pretty closely. Do you think they pull it out?
I don't think they do. And the biggest issue is they are without their two best linebackers. They both got hurt against Cincinnati. So, like Jason said, their defense is already not very good. They're down three of their four best players. Derek Brown, Josie Jewell, Shaq Thompson, all out. And even at full strength, I might pick the Bears. But given their already weakened defense that got worse last week, I can't confidently pick them. I think the offense will probably look serviceable again. It'll look solid, but the defense isn't going to be good. I don't have faith in that front seven to do much of anything. And given the fact that Caleb Williams is starting to show a little something, they have some amount of faith in him with how much he's throwing the ball. I think Chicago is going to pull it out, and Carolina's going to lose, and it's going to be terrible.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I picked the Panthers last week when it was against Cincinnati.
I did too.
I was like, hey, Andy Dalton playing against the team that drafted him, maybe he shows up with a little more gusto, and he didn't. And Aaron talked about the linebackers being gone, Derek Brown out for the year. It could get really ugly. I'm expecting a huge game from DeAndre Swift and Caleb Williams and DJ Moore. Honestly, guys, the line for this game is actually at Chicago by 4. Oh my gosh, I'm taking Chicago by like 30, and with no shame.
I don't think it's going to be that bad, but Swift and Rashawn Johnson, I think they're going to run rampant on the Panthers, but I don't see by 30.
I see by 30. Now, another game that we're going to predict before we get into the Sunday night matchup is the Packers-Rams. Packers are actually favored on the road by 3 points. It's going to be a little interesting. Matt Stafford, no stranger to playing the Packers, but does he get it done? Backs against the wall. The Rams are 1-3 going into this game. So, Aaron, how do you see this one playing out?
I think Green Bay is going to take it. They struggled a little bit last week. They almost came back, but Jordan Love, another week to get healthy, another week to get better. I think that Green Bay is going to bounce back and have a really strong game. And the Rams are still depleted offensively. They don't have their weapons back. I'm not sure when Cooper Kupp's coming back. I think it's not until the second to last week of the month, but like they're saying in the comments, Love is back. Packers all the way. I think Green Bay takes it pretty handily.
Wow. Shout out to our producer helping with the live comment pop up. Aaron's got Green Bay. Rick, are you as convinced as Aaron? Hopefully we didn't lose him right there. Or you guys hopefully didn't lose me.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at are looking good in this. Sean McVay has never beaten LaFleur. He's 0-4 against them. Throw in the Rams are dead last in run defense. Before last night, they've allowed an average of 165 yards, rushing yards allowed. The Packers, there's only one team to beat them in more yards for rushing, and it's the Baltimore Ravens. They're averaging 174.5 rushing yards a game. 100%, I'm going Green Bay all the way.
Green Bay all the way. Jason, do you agree with the two guys?
It's a love movie, baby. It's all about the. I mean, look, he had 389 yards last week and 4 touchdowns against that tough Minnesota Vikings. He had a couple of interceptions, but that was just rust. They're going to be down Christian Watson. I know Dobbs is not playing. Romeo's out this weekend, but they still have more weapons. Wicks has really, really stepped up and became a formidable weapon at the wide receiver position. The Rams, again, Matt Stafford, he's a great quarterback, man. He really is. He can take a little bit of nothing and do something with it. They do have a little bit of a run game, but I just don't think they have enough firepower. And I just don't see the Rams being able to hang with Jordan Love. I think he's just got too much in him. He's going to hit his stride here pretty soon. So I had him preseason as my MVP. I think he's going to continue it. I can see him throwing for, again, 300 plus, almost 400 yards against the Rams. Because, again, Rams defense is not really that good. And they're going to be on the field a lot. So give me the pack attack, love movement. Let's go.
Now, I was told I'm special. I was told that I'm different. And right now, I'm going to pick the Green Bay Packers to beat the Rams. I am not even risking that. I'm not chancing it. And watch all of us get it wrong because guess what? We just jinxed it. By the way, we have one more game to predict on the NFL, but this is not the last time you will see me today because Mouthing Off with Mike says, what a time to be alive on a Friday on Boom Broadcasting. And yes, I unfortunately missed the nightcap this past Monday because of the hurricane and the power being out. I'm making up for it. He rescheduled me. We did the rain check, and the rain check is tonight. Following SmackDown, I'll be joining Mouthing Off with Mike right here on the Boom Broadcasting YouTube channel for my wrestling fans. We'll be super excited to see you guys in the comments, having a good time. And it gets a little freaky on the nightcap, so viewer discretion advised on that part, and especially whenever the mics are together. It's absolutely crazy. And it's Mouthing Off with Mike. It won't be the last time you see me, Mr. 8-Bit Rick. Speaking of 8-Bit, I got to ask you about this final game. Your division rival, the Pittsburgh Steelers, against the Dallas Cowboys. My team hanging up on the wall right here. 8-Bit, are you getting welcome back onto Outta Pocket? And I'm going to let you predict the Cowboys Steelers first. And he's also muted right now, so Aaron, unmute his mic, bro.
I didn't do it.
Aaron, unmute his mic.
It's not letting me. I didn't do this.
Aaron, you're supposed to be a producer.
He muted himself. It says I can't unmute him because he muted himself.
Aaron, I thought you were a better producer than this. This was.
I cannot overcome the failings of technology.
I don't know if I could write it down.
You hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, we got you now. We got you now. Well, we're experiencing some technical difficulties on 8-Bit.
All right. Well, can you guys? I don't know if you guys can hear me, but I know I texted Mike before the show started, gave him my picks, and he said I'm not opening them. Well, I have to actually change one of them. I originally told him Pittsburgh, and then I cranked out the numbers, and I have to give it to the Dallas Cowboys on this. The main thing is, if you look at the stats, Pittsburgh is giving up an average of 197 rushing yards a game. Dallas is averaging 269 receiving. Well, the good part is Cowboys aren't really a rushing team right now. So throw that in, throw in the Cowboys are only their 2 wins have been on the road. And fun fact, they've won 2 out of their last 3 games in Pittsburgh. So, Booking Like a Mark's going to be happy, hopefully, because I'm picking the Dallas Cowboys to win.
Well, he's picking the Dallas Cowboys to win. We got Chris saying Steelers by 100 in the comments. Cricket saying Dak serving up some turnovers. Man, I'm tired of this turnover talk because it's literally irrelevant. Like, guys, this was 2 years ago material. Like, get something new. Jason, I know you hate the Cowboys. Just go ahead and tell me who you think's winning.
Well, listen, this is not because I just hate the Cowboys. This is because the Cowboys are dead last in rushing in the league. And this is going to be one of those games where you're going to have to run because the Steelers, Mike Tomlin at home, are going to scheme to shut down CeeDee Lamb in the passing game because they're going to dare the Dallas Cowboys to actually run the football, which when you're dead last in the league, obviously you're not very good at running the football. So I'm taking the Steelers. They're fourth in defense right now. I think they are a sleeping team. Again, nobody wins ugly games like the Pittsburgh Steelers and Mike Tomlin. It's hard to go against them at home. Against Dallas did win against my Giants. They did play fairly well. They gave up 5 scoring drives, but luckily enough, the Giants could only score field goals on those 5 drives. But they're going against a totally different dynamic, a totally different team. Justin Fields is still a dual threat quarterback. So I'm taking Pittsburgh. It's hard to go against them at home. And I still do hate the Cowboys.
He hates the Cowboys. The panel split right now. Aaron, be our tiebreaker right here. Cowboys Steelers Sunday night.
I don't want to say this. I don't like saying this. I'm picking Dallas. I don't think that Pittsburgh's their luck's going to run out. I mean, they got cooked by a 39-year-old Joe Flacco in 2024 after having to deal with him in Baltimore for all that time. I don't think that Pittsburgh is that great of a team. I think their luck is bound to run out, and I think it will happen this week. Their luck's going to run out, and Dallas is going to win.
So we got Rick 8-Bit and Aaron saying Dallas wins. We got the hater Jason saying that Dallas loses. And if you guys watched that and the boys that dropped at 3 o'clock today on Fans First Sports Network and Boom Broadcasting, you already know that I'm actually taking the Pittsburgh Steelers. Unfortunately, that's how I see this going because Chris saying, Aaron, watch your mouth, by the way. I'm seeing this not go in Dallas's favor. Micah Parsons doubtful. DeMarcus Lawrence out. Brandon Cooks out. It's just piling up the injuries. Deron Bland not expected to make a return this week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Kalen Carson questionable. Trayvon Diggs, he's not 100% with the ankle. So it's like all of a sudden the defense is starting to look bad. But also like you play Justin Fields who can run the ball. You play Najee Harris who can run inside. This isn't going to be the Baltimore level of running attack, but it is enough to make me worry, especially when you look at the beef up front for the Dallas Cowboys. And offensively, Brandon Cooks being out, hopefully Jalen Tolbert steps up. Hopefully Jake Ferguson steps up. Hopefully the running game is important, but you also play the Steelers, who are the 4th best defense right now when it comes to yards given up. TJ Watt on the other side wanting his 100th career sack. He's at 99.5 right now. I just feel like this is a recipe where Dallas just doesn't match up well. Maybe Cowboys are a better team than the Steelers, but in terms of matchup and in terms of health, Dallas getting the short end of the stick. So those are our predictions for Out of Pocket. As you guys know, we'll put them up on social media to where you guys can enjoy it and get it going. You guys can comment in addition to that on our social media posts. And the winner comes back to defend their crown next week. I'm going to signal my panel off. Before we do that, you want to make sure you go check out Rick 8-Bit. He just dropped his Bad Blood predictions. 8-Bit style on YouTube. You want to go check that out. Good luck to his Mets, who ended up just rallying against the Milwaukee Brewers. Rick 8-Bit, appreciate having you on, my friend. And then we'll also we have Jason, the Sideline Savants co-host. He's officially a co-host now, to my knowledge. Has helped out Wayne since the inception of his show a few weeks ago. They're back to back also as the #1 program on Boom Broadcasting so far. So appreciate all you're doing, helping get the word out. Appreciate you, my friend. They dropped their fantasy football show a couple days ago. Go set those lineups and go watch Sideline Savants.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. Guys, be safe. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And again, hockey season started today. Don't forget.
It's
So,
here.
let's go. Go Rangers.
It's ready. Basketball not far from the corner. Appreciate
Go
you,
Knicks.
Jason.
We'll talk about that too. Go Knicks.
He's a Knicks guy. They made a big deal that I talked about at the beginning of the show. Aaron, you got the Gridiron Address this Sunday. Who's on the show, my friend?
It's a little up in the air right now, given the fact that almost a lot of the Boom Broadcasting people are in Western North Carolina, and y'all have bigger things to worry about than coming on my show. Tentatively, I have Chris DeLuca coming on again, second week in a row, and maybe I get a second guest, but we're rolling with that for now. And real quick before I go, I didn't get to say this while he was still in, but I saw some Yankee stuff in the background of Jason's video. So real quick, I just got to say, go Royals. It's going to be a great series. I'm really looking forward to it.
It's going to be interesting. Aaron and Jason, Royals versus Yanks, and Chris, who is going to be on the Gridiron Address this week. He has a baseball podcast. It dropped yesterday. Dugout Debrief. Go sure and check that out. Aaron, appreciate you. Can't wait to see what you roll out on Sunday. Guys, this has been an awesome episode of Out Pocket. Thank you guys so much for just allowing us to be your escape. And a reminder, Chris saying we're going to the Super Bowl. Yeah, okay, whatever. Chris and I aren't the best of friends right now because of the Steelers-Cowboys rivalry. But it's okay. I still want to, support his baseball show, Dugout Debrief. He's doing really great. Some wildness in the wild card round that he covered this past week. So go check that out. Guys, we want to see support for Western North Carolina. If you guys feel led and if you're able to help people out in this region, it would be very, very appreciated. In addition, I told you guys, if you've been watching Dad and the Boys, there is a new show debuting tomorrow called Starstruck. And you're not going to see this face on there, but you are going to see my other co-host for Dad and the Boys. You're going to see Dad. You're going to see Mac Davis have his own show. I don't know what he's cooking up. We'll see if he has to throw in the disclaimer episode that Mike has to throw up for his nightcaps. Who knows? But since we do drop Dad and the Boys at 3 p.m. on Tuesdays and Fridays every week, we're going to keep with that 3 p.m. time slot, and we're going to post his show 3 p.m. tomorrow. It debuts on Boom Broadcasting for video feed and on Fans First Sports Network for the audio feed. And speaking of Fans First Sports Network, I was also a guest on Behind Enemy Lines, hosted by Jeff Hartman, the owner of Fans First Sports Network and the Steel Curtain Network. It's a great time. Steelers Cowboys. It's available now on demand for the audio feeds. And we'll be posting that as well on the Star Studded Cowboys Network. But guys, we are out of time for today. Can't wait to see you guys back here on Monday for Out of Pocket. In addition, the nightcap tonight with myself and Mouth It Off with Mike before he has a nightcap for Bad Blood tomorrow night. Mike, you've had your last vacation for the next 4 years, but appreciate you welcoming back on the nightcap. Can't wait to see you tonight. And guys, that's all we got for Out of Pocket. Can't wait to see you back on Monday.
Well, that's it. I really hope you enjoyed it. We had a ball making it. Thank you very much.